Today is International Youth Day, and in honor of this event, Schnetz Media and PoliticsNY want to do something a little different. Today I'm joined by Henry David Wright. Henry is a local human rights activist from New York City. He grew up just between Soho and the Upper West Side. He has traveled across Germany at just age 15, interviewing Syrian refugees during the refugee crisis and learning their stories. He's also lived in Rome, where he volunteered at a local kitchen and prepared traditional Syrian food, distributing it among the local community there. He's also traveled to the Syrian-Jordanian border to a refugee camp there to witness firsthand the conditions of the camp as well as to deliver funds that he had raised. He now serves as the Global Youth Representative at the United Nations Fund for Education in Emergencies, where he represents more than 100 youth-led NGOs from across Africa, Asia, Europe, and the Americas. And he's only 19 years old. So Henry, thank you so much for being here. I'm excited to talk to you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm also excited to speak with you today.
The amount of humanitarian experience that you've been able to gather since you started at 15 is incredible. How did you first become aware of the Syrian refugee crisis, and what made you want to become involved?
So for me, my very first interaction really with the crisis was just reading about it. I was, I read the New York Times, the international section, and I had never heard, anything about it. If you had said to me, what is the refugee crisis, I wouldn't have understood that there are refugee crises in South Sudan, in Kenya, in Syria, refugees displaced in Lebanon, all around the world. I thought it was just one crisis. So really, my first interaction was through reading the news. And I think really what can be kind of dangerous about that is there's especially for some newspapers, a tendency to lose the human face of the struggle, or even to sensationalize the pain. And so I thought, because I was primarily dealing with statistics and not actual people and human experiences, I started looking for an opportunity to learn more about the Syrian refugee crisis. And I knew that Angela Merkel, the German chancellor, had recently accepted over 1 million Syrian refugees into Germany, which was, an incredibly brave and, I would say wonderful thing for her to do as a leader, considering how much pressure there was on her at the time to not do that, and how few other European nations have done that as well. And so I found, this opportunity to travel across Germany with the New York Times European economics correspondent, Jack Ewing, and I, jumped on it.
What is it like to be surrounded by colleagues and people that you're working with who are at a very different stage of their career, who have a lot more experience in public policy, global policy? Is it more intimidating or is it more exciting?
Because I've traveled so much, I've kind of realized that the people that I'm interacting with are really just people, whether it's, refugee families who have been, obscured by alt-right news headlines, or, ambassadors that I've met in Jordan. They're really just people at the end of the day. So I kind of approach the decision-making table just aware of that. It's true that many of them have, unbelievably large amounts of power and influence, but at the end of the day, they are people. And I'm a believer in good ideas primarily. And so I kind of thought, if we as a youth constituency have good ideas, then we're bringing value to the table.
What advice or what message you would give to other young people who are looking to become involved in either humanitarian movements or just their local community? They just want to make the world a better place, and what you would say to them?
I would say I think just keep going, because on a daily basis for me, there's so much sense of being ignored, of maybe this isn't going to work. But what we've seen as a constituency is that if you just hold on and then don't lose hope or idealism, and it's hard to get the idealism out of people that are so young, then what you're pushing for could actually become a reality.
Awesome. And I think too, over the past couple of years, so much has happened. We need a little idealism right now. So, Henry, thank you so much. It's been an absolute joy talking to you, and happy International Youth Day.
Thank you so much for your wonderful questions.